am here representing one among a million Malayalis who work abroad, who are exposed to various technologies which we would like to see it come back to Kerala and see a resilient Kerala. So thank you, sir, for giving us the opportunity to come here. So basically, I'm an electronics engineer. I started my job in a food manufacturing silo facility as an engineer. I went on to do some work in Otis, and then in a conglomerate which has diversified businesses. And so business experience, and in the last 2 years I've been working on digital platforms. The reason for that has been that the world has been changing so fast that I realized that business will transform, and that we need to put an emphasis on the transformation of businesses. So being part of one of the major groups, I'm on the board of the food and beverage. We are one of the first manufacturers, or our company is one of the first manufacturers in that area. So therefore I was on the board, and we are now trying to steer the whole food sector into to creating food security. With the wars and things like that, there's a lot of food security issues come up, and there's a lot of emphasis on manufacturing. So one of the things a manufacturer comes under pressure is the value chain, where the retailer dominates and the manufacturer is unable to get full value. So one of the things that we tried to do at that time was to actually create a platform where we can integrate the value chain. So I was listening to Mr. Reggie sir, and so all what we have learned, what I've heard in the yesterday and today, you can see a bit of it, a tiny 0.01% of it being executed, and I can show it, some of it, and some of the learning that we had in executing it. So the keywords has been like mostly ecosystem. So yesterday we heard about forest ecosystems. Now we are talking about energy grids and the electrical infrastructure ecosystems. Then about platforms, and digitalization of platforms. So platforms, in my view, is not about IT infrastructure or IT. Platforms. This meeting is a platform. Cooperatives are a platform. Today we have access to technology to make it much more efficient, and that's where digitalized platforms can be a disruptor. So I'll just spend 2-3 slides to just explain the trends. So my presentation goes platforms and digital transformation of businesses, case of our food platform, just as a very short brief of it, and then what are the key factors that we feel will enable platforms, some of the applications that you can see on our platform or we have built on the platform, and how the platform context can be looked at in the Kerala context, and how micro SMEs can be actually supported through platforms. So for any economy, small and medium businesses form a key part, and we feel that small and medium or micro businesses can be supported through platforms. So that's the clear focus. Although the learning that we have on the platforms can be explained in different contexts, even energy platforms, all those things can be discussed, but the learning is common. So as you know, now we all know about Uber, things. We are moving into a platformified economy. There's no longer individual play, it's about partnerships, and now we are moving towards platforms. So the reason why we have Google and Facebook and Amazon and Airbnb dominating and disrupting, we are convinced that the businesses will not remain the same. It's transformed. So it is in this context that we have to look at how digital platforms are relevant, and these companies are disrupting businesses, trying to change the way in which the whole ecosystem is actually playing. So now the trend is towards an open ecosystem, and an open ecosystem in most of these companies are platform companies. They own the platform and they drive it towards their interest, whereas an open platform is a common infrastructure through which multi-stakeholder people can work towards their own interests, and the platform remains like an enabling layer. So the main challenge in the platform thinking is that everybody wants to own the data and manage the platform for themselves, and to balance the stakeholder interest was the biggest challenge. So if you can actually come up with a mechanism to actually sort of balance the stakeholder conflicts, that's when we can actually make a multi-stakeholder platform very resilient. So let me explain the context in which the UAE food platform was set up. So here we had the manufacturer, the distributor, and then the retailer. And the retailer had access to the customer, and he was taking most of the profits, whereas the manufacturers was not getting enough. Or so to give you an example, a hypermarket like Lulu or Carrefour makes about 13-14% on the item, whereas a manufacturer who really invests in the infrastructure to build the factory, put the produce, bring the produce down the line, gets hardly 6%. So, and this pressure was mounting, and for economy, for a business-friendly economy like UAE, many people who believed in the sector and came and invested there were put to pressure. Now today, it's all about whether investors should come into this model. So just give me a context of Dubai. UAE is a small country with a population of 10 million. It's almost like a lab. You can try out many things there, and there is a frictionless deployment because there is a centralized government, and the government works with private sector very closely. So it's like a lab where we can try out new things. So it's so you can see the government of Dubai has actually launched what's called a Smart Dubai platform. All the government entities' data is centralized to one place, and data has been seen as an asset. There is a data law that is installed in UAE. So all this enables us to actually create a data-centric businesses. So it is in this ecosystem context that that we are able to engage. So let me just tell you who drove the actually platform concept. So we as a manufacturers came together as a manufacturer association, and we tried to build a platform which we shared data with the retailers and the government. So because the data law exists in UAE, we were able to sort of use the government infrastructure to enable this, and the government front-ended the project, or so it's not like the data governance law allowed us to. So just to give you, we are leveraging on the data feedback from consumption back to manufacturing, F&B manufacturers now to be able to produce on demand and reduce waste in the supply chain. Data transparency and feedback across the supply chain orchestrated by multiple entities help manufacturers deliver the right products to the consumer at the right point. This is relevant in the case of electricity, relevant in the case of transportation, relevant in the case of, and this is happening. So again, I'll skip this slide. So this is what we try to do. All the entities came together. So and so you can say that a product, as soon as it comes into the country, the barcode is scanned, the availability is known, the digital marketing. So all the data related to the product was shared, and this access was given to the right people, and we were able to orchestrate. So the other thing was the retailers were able to order on demand, to connect to the manufacturer and cut out the middlemen. Yesterday when we were discussing about the forest ecosystem, we're producing when forest produce have high value, and the middlemen were the blocks in between. So I was just wondering that to enable the livelihoods of several communities who are linked to forest, a platform could be driven, cooperatives can be driven. So a typical use case that I can actually tell and explain in detail, and Bennett is here. Bennett is the manager of the biodiesel factory. In an oil-rich country, we produced biodiesel from used cooking oil, converted into biodiesel, and fueled school buses. And now, almost 80% of the used cooking oil in UAE coming from restaurants are consolidated. The challenge was another fold, that this used cooking oil was being filtered and brought back into the values, into the food chain. So this had a health element as well. So we have got the complete, first thing, the regulation was enacted to actually ensure that all the recycled or the collected cooking oil comes to a central repository, and from there it was converted and then blended with cooking oil. So here we are trying to implement a blockchain mechanism to trace it, so that we ensure that the cooking oil doesn't go out. So this could be like 5 years before we started, and the investment was very small. Today, how we envisage this as happening here is like, if you have 500 small plants with local consolidation, so you cannot carry cooking oil all to the central location. So small communities convert. So you can recycling of this used cooking oil, recycling of waste, recycling of all these things can be done in a distributed manner, but the grid itself is connected by PLCs and the data is centric and the value chain. So now this is driven by the oil company of UAE, which actually pays for the cooking oil in advance. So that they actually, so the main critical issue in the cooking oil value chain was who's giving the value, who's giving cash for the cooking oil being collected. So this is one typical case where.
Is there a regulatory framework for cooking oil collection?
Yes.
For hotels, not the used cooking oil.
No, there is only authorized people who are supposed to collect cooking oil, and the cooking oil has to be traced to the converter. So, like 5 years back, there was no norm related to it, but now it's become. Now they're displaying a logo to say that our cooking oil is actually converted into diesel. Full McDonald's, all the trucks run on the cooking oil that they actually, take it out from there. So this was executed, and this is being done, and this we are trying to translate into a recycling of. So what we have is, when we have an ecosystem of all the players, and then you build.
Only consumer pressure which drives the cooking oil. That you should not reuse cooking oil. That is all.
There was no consumer pressure yet, because they were not aggregated. By building awareness on this, we actually went down to schools and then converted it, ran a sustainability program for awareness purpose. It was not anything related to commercial stuff. When you actually build awareness and the health consciousness, the food control department, so might be the main reasons why a platform becomes succeed is not obvious. It might be not logically the most important one, but sometimes those elements of marketing, elements of messaging will actually drive the platform towards. So the beauty is, now I have got all the 17,000 restaurants on my platform, and we are selling goods to them. So the used cooking oil was a bait to get them on the platform, where we paid them for the cooking oil and the waste. And they've run what's called a food watch, which is like the regulator goes and checks whether he has done pesticide, his kitchen is clean, all those things. And that data is coming back, and that data is being analyzed. So all these things are happening, and the ecosystem allows for it. Now, so this is the app that we have developed on this, and so what happens is, this is like a free zone on which a data layer on which you can build your applications. So when you come on, it's not you are not only getting access to technology, you're also getting access to your customers and your partners. So that's what we had tried to do. So the main barriers was this is the learning from this. This is the most important thing. Most of the companies are internally focused. They are more about managing their data, about their ERP. They never thought about sharing the data. Today we are trying to sell the concept of data has value. We are doing a valuation of the data, and we are trying to help them use external and internal data to actually pitch. So today, a grocery, his video cameras is going to give retail intelligence, which is of high value for a manufacturer to understand how consumer behavior is changing. So today he's selling his video data and video analytics and the data transaction layer on a data platform. So that's a shift in mindset that is required to actually share data. So the other question is about your competition is also a collaborator. So there is no longer you're not competing with anybody. You actually have to collaborate with everybody, and that mindset of collaboration. Then the change in mindset, and see, we have to the difficulty that we feel that in a platform rollout will be the mediation between multiple stakeholders because of pressures. Here, the industry association and the government has a major role to play to catalyze the process. And then the industry body people have to understand that this will not work, the present model will not sustain, and they have to transfer. These are possible.
You have 5 more minutes to finish
Sure.
the interesting presentation.
Sure. So actually, we were discussing this with Dr. Unni when the floods happened. So there's a huge link because there's a huge number of Keralites there. A lot of food gets exported from here. If you see the most adulterated food stuff is.
Is
Pardon?
that so?
Yeah, the most the coconut oil and milk is the most adulterated stuff here. So and I'm privy to all the costs. Okay, the cost of the most pure, and Dubai has a very high regulation on food control, and the cost of very good coconut oil is less than the selling price of the coconut oil. Okay, so what is that? We are able to make good stuff here and export outside, but we ourselves are not able to provide it here locally. And now there's a lot of ban on this thing. So it's all about how do you actually work on the value chain and try to and if you say 20 to like almost 50-70% of the business people are Keralites. Kerala, the UAE economy is driven by Lulu is a major player. Lulu no longer describes itself as an Indian company. It describes it as a UAE company, and it's got investment. So there's a huge import that's happening towards it. So we were in talks, and now UAE is actually saturated. There's too much of food there, too much of wastage there. The UAE companies were trying to look at selling to Kerala. And that's when we were trying to approach Sir to actually create made in UAE shelves in the groceries here. And that's when the discussion started. And then the opportunity is to actually understand this market, build brand presence here, and then move manufacturing to this area. This was the discussion that we had. I'll just skip these slides. Just this is on relevance of how important Kerala, and because there's a 500,000 expatriates there, the food, and we thought that the platform could be extended. The UAE food platform could be extended to the supply chain here, and including the Mawali stores, or to create that sort of system. There you could actually, there's so many families who can pay there and get delivered here. Same stuff you can actually, So now, looking at a livelihood portal, we feel this sort of concept can be reapplied to a micro SME. So micro SME is what they require. They require the infrastructure, they require the know-how, they require the ease to deliver. So today, in my view, in a platformified economy, you just need strategy, and you just need your will to market. Even finance can be provided on the platform. What we do is, the biggest pressure that's happening in UAE now is working capital finance. They introduced VAT and sin tax on sugar, and the market is down by 30%. So now the main crunch issue was on how do you actually fund the working capital. So the banks are now moving towards a trend of actually doing a credit rating based on exposure of the data. So the data is being provided, the transaction data is visible, and based on the credit worthiness, microfinance is provided, and this can be seamlessly integrated. So these are the sort of use cases that can be sort of translated to here. What I see is that we should not have major retailers dominating. No, it should be a very very broad, flattened economy to actually to ensure that the economy sustains for longer time. So you should actually empower the local vendor. You're building guy, in UAE and all, we have groceries down. We should buy from the local grocery, and we should enable. Today, with platform concepts, we will be able to give the same price as a hypermarket down to a grocery. Yes. Yes. Yeah, various. They come the concept, and they actually, the application is wired for them on the platform, and they just have to execute the business. The data is actually going to the data layer. The data is digested, and they are actually getting value for the data also. And the ecosystem partners are also available. Yeah. Actually, this is my that's my last slide. I'll go to the last slide. I'll share this slide. I don't have time. So we feel that first of all, every business has to transform. Everybody has to get it to a digital mode to make it more efficient. So transforming existing businesses to digital. It will drive entrepreneurship, and especially entrepreneurship for people in Kerala who don't want to do the blue collar job. It gives an easy way of access. First, then things like what I showed you on the food platform, like traceability of food on blockchain and things like that, can bring about the right food. Then sustainability on food loss. There's a lot of loss on food. You can, And we have an app called Grown in UAE. In UAE, the funny thing is that a lot of rich people have their own farms. They do a lot of things farming, but they don't give the food outside. They only consume it themselves because they want to have healthy food. So UAE was thinking how much so many sheep is there, but it's not coming to the supermarket. So now they're trying to encourage these rich locals to start converting into more a commercial thing. So now the produce is put on a made in UAE. So this is in summary.
Now, after the floods,
Yes.
one of the groups which has been mostly hit is the retail.
Yes.
And that is one segment where not much of government support can really go.
Yes.
And there are people who have 45 years, 50 years in retail, lost everything.
Yes.
Because it is basically their inventory
Yes.
that drives them. And now they're all shaken up by the malls which are coming, the thinking of Watergate and stuff like that coming in. They're all totally in a sort of a very disastrous situation. All the small, what we call Pettigara, that's all almost wiped out in Kerala. But there are smaller shops which are there, where there are issues of basically selling sachet sort of stuff and things like that. And maybe grocery, where people are very seriously sort of worried about quality. At one point of time, a local grocery shop fellow, you know that he will never give you contaminated stuff. But with your supply chains created all around, there is no guarantee that anything will be of quality stuff available in local groceries. So people switch over to malls and stuff like that, at least thinking that there will be some control over quality. This is sort of situation which has happened. So retail is really on the decline and has been worst hit. So is it possible for us to connect the smallest retailer in the locality
Yes.
and having hyper localization
Yes.
and manage that?
Yes.
And also connected with local manufacturing with supply chain, with
Yes.
traceability.
So no, see,
Just 1 second, a point of order. Your time is actually up, but
Yeah.
I suggest two things. One, you continue and I'll try to see whether we can get more time. The second, are you happy to sit with those who are interested to continue the conversation during lunch?
yeah, I'm
Okay, we spot you. So you.
So I'm done. My presentation is
No,
done.
check with the I have not seen the next speaker. So,
The next speaker is here. Only the next speaker is here.
I'm sorry, okay.
Dr. Kiran.
So you get 30 seconds, my friend, you have to close.
Yeah,
this.
no, I'm done.
In continuation with this, I would like to add that the e-commerce people totally destroyed by adopting a predatory pricing system,
Yes.
highly subsidized.
Yes.
So the entire retail sector is sabotaged.
Yes.
So now
That's why we should have a shared multi-stakeholder platform. Today, what we are negotiating is with Soup.com and with Amazon and Noon. The manufacturers are having one negotiation, and the dynamic pricing is set on the platform for them. And there is so this is the sort of things that we are trying.
At the outset you said that they identified ecosystem, science silos, there could be no competitors, only collaborators.
Only collaborators. There's no longer any more competitors. Only collaborators. So what I want to point out is these things will happen. It will happen at a much faster pace. It's all about how do you actually create the adoption. The challenge is how to balance, how to create make everybody come together and collaborate and articulate the value proposition.
I think it's a very good place to close. And we are not actually, unfortunately, we will be continuing. I know there are many hands here, but unless the next speaker is willing to give 5 minutes, I'm going to close the session and we'll continue during lunch. I can't give another 5 minutes, sir.
Please.
Okay, you got another 5 minutes. Madam, you go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is very much connected.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're talking of Dubai. I mean, I thought Dubai was full of these huge malls and shops and all, and it's a wonderful thing that you all have managed it. Cooking oil, one example, of course, definitely collaboration. There was no competition.
Yeah.
Everybody would be willing to give up their cooking.
Yeah, that's why it happened.
No, of course.
So you have to do a case which will happen with a. Yeah.
So that I don't plan it like that.
How you can say because what is PI is used to the food.
Used.
That's
it's
right,
used.
but if it is reused, then it becomes carcinogenic.
You in the sense you say you fry something and then
Yeah.
Say, there is a Chinese machine available.
Okay.
You actually put it through it, and it comes out. It looks better than your market. So you will have to actually make sure that it is actually not coming back to the value.
The real question is what was asked before. how do you ensure that your local groceries
Hmm.
don't die out anymore?
That's the way. So you digitalize the grocery. Now see, it's already
We are competing with all the other
Yeah, you can compare.
in the market.
In my bill, now you see, you go to an Airtel guy, you can charge your mobile, right? You can say he's illiterate, but he actually transfers 1,000 dirhams to your mobile with a small, tiny stuff, right? But today, you can give him a tab. If you give him a tab, you're almost like at a at the Amazon level.
No, I think, Wahid, one of the points in multi-sided platforms, it is very clear that when you have scales at one side, then you have benefits at the other side also.
Yes.
And you have innovative pricing models where certain people get benefited. The question is it possible for us to have some benefits for the smallest producers? That is the question. Because how can they survive in
Because-
one is the connect. One is the connect that
Yes.
is a digital. You create a platform, then you aggregate. Basically, you are creating an economy of scale which should transform the whole business. That is one point. But are you, or did you think about any innovative pricing models in the context of UAE?
Yeah,
Which could-
this is completely pricing. Of course, the company that drives the whole thing is from Trivandrum. He is a billing company who was billing for telecoms and for her. He's actually applying.
Suntec.
Suntec is actually applying the billing pricing structure to where you actually have your mobile phones on slabs. Same thing is being applied on the. They are the people who are active today. Now going back to predatory pricing on online retail, that's only temporary. If you go deep down, you will understand that they are not businesses. They are actually faking people, or they are doing public dispersing of wealth in a more efficient manner by collecting from the stock market. So they are harming it. They are creating value in the stock market. So if they are taking advantage of the fragmented situation, so once people come, today, even if 5 people come together, if you don't even have the technology, we are stronger.
No, simple question. Why should I buy from a local retail? One point.
You get the best price.
You said you will get better quality through traceability.
Better quality, better price, and
Better price also.
better price also. Because see, if you are able to give the better price, why would I? See, why is Amazon acquiring retailers? Because the final mile delivery is an experience. You're thinking that if everybody will shop on the phone is not right. Everybody wants to actually shop physically, look at it, want to have a shopping experience. There's a retail therapy that we go for. The basic stuff is an online. Today, it's already happening, but you're not looking. If you go to a grocer and say, I want this, and it's not available, he takes your phone number. That is, he's already digitalized. Next time he calls you and says, he's available, I'll deliver it to your house. Already there. You're not providing the efficient infrastructure for that, and the bigger guys are denying it to them. Okay? And today technology is available, it's only a matter of just setting it. And what we are seeing is, Dubai is not a good example for Kerala. Kerala is vast, Kerala is huge. There it's an experiment we can run, but the learning from that is applicable in a different context.
Sir, regarding the Chinese,
Yeah.
Chinese are including in the Indian market by camouflaging
Yeah,
even grocery, saying
Yeah.
that Indian origin.
Yeah.
They say as Indian origin, actually it is Chinese. That camouflaging, grocery is
So
camouflage.
that's where consumer awareness has to come in. So in the platform, there's a product ingredient list. The traceability has to be there. So when these things, see, I think shortly when you go to a restaurant, you will just check the barcode and check the traceability of if it's approved. Then only you will eat. There's so much of poison that you're already eating. People are not aware, and you've just kept them sedated.
At the UAE food match,
Yes.
there should be a food smell like thing.
Yeah. They are actually doing this. See, it also happens in iterations. The data has been crunched. US, as I said, US is not an example for India, but and I feel
as an experiment.
it's a lab. It's a lab, and what you learn from there, and who are the people who are working there? People like me are working there. People like we are driving it. We are trying to communicate and mediate between
And
people.
almost 90% of the people in the food industry is
Malayalis. So
So I want to thank you for your substance and your passion.